Okay, alright, hear me out. We're not just doing 5 intrinsically bad builds today. We're also going to go over how to make them good, how to make them work well for you and your games. We're also going to be addressing some of the mistakes that I made in that multi-classing tier list video from a few months back. So, come along, and let's make some garbage D&D builds work well. Or at least, better than you'd expect. Starting at number 1, Artificer Barbarian. Now, this is a tricky one. The educated savage is pulled in a lot of directions, namely strength, constitution, and intelligence. I never thought it could be done well, but I had my mind opened by this comment, and so I figured I'd expand on it a bit and see what it's got. In order to perform this multiclass, you need at least a 13 in strength and intelligence, and in order to make it good, you should have at least one of those be a 16. Most likely intelligence. We'll get on to why later. So, as you can see, we are straying from the comment a bit right out of the get-go, but I'm still planning on keeping this a taunter, so let's see where this goes. I'm gonna choose to start by going with Gnome for my race, for their Artificer-friendly features. Or, you could, as they recommend, go with a race that has Psychic resistance. This build is intended for taunting and controlling in combat, so we're going to stick with that idea. Either option is good, but I'm going to go with Gnome, because Gnomes can still use Fade Away when raging, which is why for the purposes of this video, imagine that's what I went with. Using the standard array, your stats, with racial bonuses already included, should be a 13 in strength, 12 in dex, 16 in con, 16 in intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. For your levels, this one gets roughly everything it needs to function at a very base level by level 6. And that's how we're going to be doing this whole video. We're only going to build until the gimmick is fulfilled, then I leave it up to you to see where you're going to take the character. They're yours now. I recommend starting with 1 level in Barbarian, that way you've got arguably more useful saving throws, but either way you slice it, the only difference that your starting level is going to cause is going to be what saving throws you're proficient in, so I leave it up to you in the end. Then, level out to be 3 in both classes. When you reach Barbarian level 3, go with the Totem Warrior Bear, specifically, and for Artificer, when you get cantrips and spells, focus on those that will be used out of combat and more utility-based. That way you're not nerfing yourself by raging. Also, take infusions that will make your barbarianness work better, like Enhanced Weapon or Returning Weapon. At Artificer level 3, go with the Armorer or Battlesmith subclass. With either of those two, you can sub in your Intelligence modifier instead of your Strength or Dex. So when you make attacks, the specifics change a bit, but that's what we're aiming for. Single skill optimization, right around intelligence only. If we went around strength, our Artificer stuff would be lacking. However, if we go around intelligence, then we just need to make sure that intelligence is our attack modifier. And that's kind of it. With this build, you can rage and have resistance to all damage, or fade away once per rest, that's short or long, and just have resistance to all damage, but psychic. You can potentially taunt with just yourself or with a robot companion. All the while, you'll still be kind of optimizing your stats around one main skill. And that's really kind of the whole premise of this. It's builds that aren't amazing, but if you think about how to make them work together, really think about it, there is a way to do it, just like with this one. It's no Barbarian Druid. But mixing Artificer with Barbarian can actually work pretty well if you're going for 1 or 2 very specific things. For our next build, another that is usually terrible, there is one-ish way to make it good. The Barbarian Warlock is going to be our number 2, and here's how I think it can be done best. The Bathhouse Battler is the second of our 2 Barbarian multiclasses that we're going to be doing today, and it's got one main selling point. It's always ready for a fight. Start by going with a race like Goliath, one that has an innate ability to ignore damage. You're going to be taking a lot, so get ready. This could also work with any other race that has resistances, just any way of buffing yourself up to whatever might get thrown at you. Using the standard array, we're assuming that our stats are going to fall like so. 13 strength, 12 dex, 16 con, 8 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 16 charisma. For your levels, we're going to say this one gets everything it needs by level 4. So start by taking 1 in Barbarian, which gives you Rage, Unarmored Defense, and basic armor and weapon proficiencies. Grab a great sword and the best armor you can, though you might not need it, it's up to you. Then for Warlock, take the Hexblade subclass at level 1 and Pact of the Blade at level 3. So you're going to be 1 Barbarian, 3 Warlock. Your invocations should be Improved Pact Weapon and Devil's Sight. And now in case you didn't already pick up on it, let me break it down. If, say, you were in a bathhouse and you happened to be ambushed in the middle of your day of relaxation, or you've been imprisoned, stripped of your armor and gear, and tossed in the back of a cart, your armor class is still 14, and you can still summon basically any +1 weapon as an action. You can see through magical darkness. You can resist a d12 of damage once a day if you go with Goliath. You're never unarmed, nor are you unarmored. But that's far from an optimal build. You can't cast spells while you're raging. You always want to be raging so you can resist damage because this build is meant to be naked. But I guess there is a kind of utility to this kind of build, and it's one that I wanted to make sure that I highlighted. And now we come to our first bonus build. I called them such because these are good builds that I mistook as bad in that tier list video. So in that video, I gave the Cleric Druid a situational, in that I assumed by splitting your spellcasting, abilities, and combat strategies, it would limit you too much. Hence, you'd only want to dip a little bit either way, keeping yourself as strong as possible. But, wow, you guys were not allowed to let me be even a little bit wrong, were you? So I guess it's time I educated myself, and then, I guess, teach those who don't already know how to make such a build work well. So the Holy Gardener is first recognizable at level 3, and the plan is as such. Start by going with Fairy for your race. Your stats should be 10 Strength, 16 Dex, 13 Con, 16 Wisdom, 8 Intelligence, and 12 Charisma. Then, your first level in Cleric, go with the Life Domain subclass. For Druid, take your 2 levels to get yourself either the Circle of Stars or Circle of Wildfire subclasses. Why do those things? Because we're making a super healer. With 1 level in both classes and the Life Domain subclass, we can cast Goodberry. And instead of healing for 1 as an action, you heal for 4. So, not great in combat, but out of combat, 1 first level spell slot for a guaranteed pool of 40 hit points. That's amazing. It takes a minute to give out, which is why, yeah, it's out of combat, but that's fantastic. In a way, I was right. Situational. It can heal a lot, but not really in a pinch. If you level up to level 3 Cleric after this, so that's 3 and 3, or 3 and 2, whatever. You can cast Spiritual Weapon as a bonus action, then Wild Shape as an action. Or if you're going with Circle of Stars, you could do a whole lot more. There's a lot at play here, and that Goodberry is why people really love this one. So I guess now I know. Watch out. Build number 3 is the Edgelord, or the Bloodhunter Warlock. And yeah, it sounds bad. Intelligence, Dex, Charisma, all over the place. And it sounds like I'm going to do something even worse, but just wait and see. This build is established for recognizability at level 6, and its main goal is to act as a mid to frontline healer and general nuisance to all undead. So yes, you heard me right, healer. For your race, go with something like Protector ASMR for their stellar resistances, ability to fly, heal, and also burn people for a few extra radiant damage. And with that, your stats should be 8 Strength, 16 Dex, 12 Con, 10 Wisdom, 13 Intelligence, and 16 Charisma. At Warlock level 1, where you're starting, you're going to want to take the Celestial as your patron. At level 3, take Pact of the Blade. And for your invocations, have them wind up, at level 3, with Improved Pact Weapon and Eldritch Mind. That way you have a better chance of utilizing your few concentration Warlock spells. For Bloodhunter, we are not going the way you think. Take that to level 3 as well, with your Blood Curses and particular flavor of right damage not really mattering. For your subclass, go with Order of the Ghost Slayer, since they get an extra right that uses radiant damage. We are not going with the Warlock Bloodhunter subclass because that's a terrible plan. And now we have a Holy Healer and Damage Dealer, with abilities as such from both Warlock and Bloodhunter. It's not total garbage, it's not great either, but heck, I'd play it. Build number 4 is the Fighter Wizard. And I knew this was a good build, and apparently it's also a really well-liked build, judging that 2 separate people brought it up. So, let's delve into this Forced Eldritch Knight. Why don't we? This build first becomes recognizable at level 5, with 2 levels in Wizard and 3 in Fighter. Your stats should be 8 Strength, 13 Dex, 16 Con, 16 Intelligence, 12 Wisdom, and 10 Charisma. For your race, go with either Eladrin or Shadar-kai Elf, for their ability to innately teleport, which you're gonna want to do. You're a fighter nerfed with some wizard hit points, but buffed by their spells, so you're gonna want to play this smart. And I think that means mixing our abilities a bit. We are not gonna want armor, and let's ideally grab 2 short swords as our weapons. We won't take it in this build here. Get Warcaster as soon as you can. We're gonna go with Mage Armor as one of our wizard spells, and also go with Blade Singer for our subclass. With our abilities active without armor, we have an AC of 17. We can then also take Shield, so as a reaction, raise our AC to 22. If we take the Echo Knight subclass, we can increase our spell ranges and chance of not dying by splitting up where you are. For higher levels, stop Wizard at 5 and take Fighter all the way up to 15. That way you can maximize everything both classes grant. You can grab Fireball and also extra attack 3. There is another way to make this multi-class work though. If you went full Fighter, Plate Armor, Shield, Longsword, all of it, and you happened to have your Intelligence, be a 13, then you can take some tiny little flavor levels of Wizard. Probably 2 or 3 to stack Shield into and exclusively use them for that. But I think the first way is a lot more fun. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. The second bonus build for today is the Paladin Sorcerer, or the Sorcerer, as recommended by a few comments on the tier list video. I guess I neglected to consider just how good this build could be, and so let me educate myself again. For this, you're going to want your strength and charisma to both be 16, your dex to be 10, con 13, wiz 12, and intelligence of 8. And I think we can jump off from this build to run about level 6 or so, and then leave it up to you. For your race, you could really go with anything, but I like Zerial Tiefling for this one. It lets you prep other spells on your Paladin since they get some smites by default. So, start your levels with Paladin, that way you get your heavy armor proficiencies. Take Paladin to level 3, go with Oath of the Watchers for your amazing spell choices and all around other great abilities, and make sure that you take the biggest armor. I'm talking biggest pauldrons, tower shield, longsword, all of it, 9 yards. For Sorcerer, which for this build we're also only taking to level 3, because level 6. At level 1 you could go with Divine Soul, but that might overlap a little too much, so instead maybe consider going with Storm Sorcery for their ability to fly and augment their lightning and thunder spells. So, there's a bunch of really cool things you can now do with 3 levels in each class. Let's go over just a few of them. You could convert your sorcery points to spell slots for more smites. Or you could quicken some spells to still attack with your weapons in the same turn. Also, that Aura of Protection to raise your saving throws at Paladin level 6, plus the armor, will make up for your lower hit points due to Sorcerer. And that stellar ability for sorcerers to fly after casting a spell will allow your Paladin to actually move for a change. So, all in all, this is a really neat build that can be so different depending on how you spec it out. For higher levels, my recommendation is to take this one only to Paladin level 6, and then Sorcerer all the way up to 14. This means you get a lot of nice features from Paladin while still letting Sorcerer expand and get everything it needs as well. Build number 5 is the Monk Ranger. It's an idea that I still don't like, but I guess I see it. They need both Dex and Wisdom, but also con to not die. So let's see what we can do. I mean, this guy thought it was important enough to bring up, so I guess I might have misjudged it. For this build, we're going to go to level 5. Our stats should be 10 strength, 16 dex, 13 con, 8 intelligence, we don't really need that, 16 wisdom, and 12 charisma. Obviously, we're not wearing armor since monk, so once we get monk level 1, our AC is going to be 16, but we're going to start with our first level in ranger. From ranger, we're going to go to level 2, grab hunter's mark and the archery fighting style. Our main method of attack is going to be our fists, but we should be good at range too. Monk, on the other hand, is going to go to level 3, and at that level we're going to take the Kensei subclass. All that means that we have a weapons master monk who can also get their hands dirty. Step this up a level in ranger and we can go Gloomstalker, Horizon Walker, or even Monster Hunter. They all do great things that could work well with this build. And, yeah, I don't need to say it, with Hunter's Mark we can deal an extra d6 of damage with every single punch. So once you hit monk or ranger level 5 and get extra attack, that's an extra 4d6 damage you could deal per turn. Rangers being able to dash as a bonus action from monk. Monks being able to track and deal extra damage. It's a great concept. I still don't think it's amazing, but who cares? That's why it's on this list and not any of the others. And to conclude today, we're going to go over our one last bonus build. It's actually not one that you noticed was misplaced, but I later did. The Sorcerer Wizard I placed in the terrible category, completely forgetting that I made this build in one of my other character build lists. Click up there. So let's go over it again quickly to refresh a bit, because Sorcerer Wizard, that's an amazing combination and allows for a ridiculous spell list as well as insane creativity, especially at lower levels. By level 2 even, you can be a master of magic. For your stats, 8 strength, 12 dex, 13 con, but oh yeah, 16 intelligence, 16 charisma, and 10 wisdom. It's there, but it's not there. For your race, go with Variant Human to grab that feat, and that feat should be one of 3. Fey Touched, Shadow Touched, or Magic Initiate. If you go with one of those, you'll see the math. At Wizard level 1, you're going to want to make sure that you pick up a lot of the more useful spells, such as Mage Armor, Shield, and all that. Basically, use Wizard to grab all your utility ones, and then for Sorcerer at level 1, we're going to take the subclass Aberrant Mind, which also gives you extra spells. Sorcerer should take all of your damage dealing spells. That way you can go utility with one and damage with the other, and you kind of have somewhat of a way of splitting this up for yourself. And if you want at Wizard level 2, Character level 3, you can go with Order of Scribes. That way you can transpose your damage types from one class to another. Say if you take a spell that's only on the Wizard list, but you have an awesome damage dealing Sorcerer spell like, I don't know, Chaos Bolt. So then you're done. Following this, your character can have this many spells. I'll do the math later, and they'll do it all by level 2 or 3. I can't believe I forgot about this multi-class. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you like this video, please consider going and checking out our other character build videos or anything else we've got on the channel. We've been doing this for almost a year now, so I have a feeling you'll find something that you like lurking around on the channel. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as going and following us on Patreon and our other social medias. We're always keeping things moving in this little sphere we call home. But yeah, guys, that's it for today. Bye!